I think probably the best way to think about this is risk assessments. That's pretty dull, isn't it? I don't like starting an answer with let's do a risk assessment. You've got to risk assess two things. You've got to risk assess the premises and the people. And you should be pretty strict with yourself for the very reason that if you get a positive case, you're going to be on the front page of the paper. So let's think about doing that as safely as we can within the guidance. And you're going to have gaps between events. You're going to have to be able to clean it. If you can't clean it, you shouldn't have it there. If you can't have gaps between events, you shouldn't have them there. So it's relatively strict, but that doesn't mean, back to my church in Airdrie, we've run a food bank the whole way through lockdown. We've never shut, but we haven't run the mother and toddlers group because we thought that was not required. And now we're beginning to think about what will it mean for a worship service? What would it mean for the youth group to come back? We're going to do that twice a month. We're not going to do it every week. We're going to gradually move it back. We're going to make them wear face coverings. We're going to make them, I mean, imagine coming to the National Clinical Directors Church. Can you think of anything worse? So they're going to be mitigated within an inch of their lives. They're probably going to wish they'd stayed at home. But the nature of that means we're going to clean after they've gone. We're going to give it time before the next thing arrives. But the food bank has happened every Friday since well, it just hasn't stopped. We didn't stop it during lockdown. So you need to put yourself on that barrier somewhere, on that gradient somewhere where you think your service sits. Make a judgment about how you can keep it safe, and then think about what it then relates to, both the premises, and then let's also, since we're on risk assessments, think about the risk assessments of the people. Also very important, and also not an exact science. But there is online on the government website an individual risk assessment that you can do for people. And that gives you, it's not like a mark out of 10, but it gives you an idea of the risk of the individual, both you and your clients. And it's based on ethnicity, weight, disease, age, pre-existing conditions, all the things you would expect it to be. The principal risks for this disease are age and weight. Pre-existing conditions are next, and ethnicity is in there, but ethnicity is not the biological problem, it's a racism problem. So BAME people are at risk of this disease because of racism, not because their biology makes them more at risk of this disease. So that's about access to services, it's about living conditions, it's about all the other things that we know racism causes in the Western world. But the principal things you can do something about are to try and work out what those risk assessments are for the individuals you're seeing. So if I were running an under-12s football club from a community centre, I'm not overly worried about that. I'm thinking they can come in their clothes, ready to play. They don't need to go indoors at all, except maybe to the loo. They're going to play on the outdoor pitch, and then they're all going to go back in their cars with their parents, and we're all good. Pretty much no risk. If I'm running an elderly care, disabled access, something, play group or something, now I'm more worried. So I'm going to do individual risk assessments of all of those individuals. I'm going to keep the numbers to a minimum. I'm going to be very strict about distancing. I'm going to try and keep a bubble so I know that those 6 people are coming and the person in charge is going to be John, and the 6 that come next week, Jean's going to be in charge of them because it's a different 6. So you're going to have to start to think about what that looks like depending on the risk assessment of the individuals in question.